Hello and welcome to the Deep 3 podcast. This is your host, Matt, joined as always by Sam and Kevin. How's it going, boys?
Hello, hello.
Not good.
Why?
Well, boys, got some breaking news. I got traded from the Bucks to the Nuggets. I got traded for a bag of weed, basically. It wasn't working at all. Especially with, COVID, hitting Jokic pretty hard. I mean, the man's looking very lean. They need a new center. Let's get it, boys. Here we go. Starting center right here.
Hey, Sam, can you stand up really quick? I just need to understand how tall you are. Okay. Yeah.
Definitely 7'3" easily. Maybe 7'4". Who knows?
They say the camera adds like 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
So.
And
Yeah.
in the bag, right?
All right, boys, I got a question for you. So, Sam and Kevin, which 3 players would you want to be in your entourage when you're at Disney World? What 3 NBA players?
I got mine ready.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
So we got the trifecta right here. We got each person has their own role. It's perfect. All right, we got Joel Embiid. He's the Joker, right? He's funny. He's big. He's intimidating, but he's still cool.
Okay.
He's still funny. He likes to have a good time. He's gonna get you riled up. He's gonna be your hype man. He's gonna
get sick half of the time. Sure.
Yeah, that's okay. Second, Russell Westbrook. You got to have the fashion icon. You got to bring some swag in your entourage. Come on, you gotta get that drip, and he's gonna look out for you too. He's gonna be like, "Yo, that shit's whack. Get out of here with that." Here's a better suggestion. The real MVP. Finally, you're gonna like this one. Actually, you have the Bruiser. You have Marcus Smart in the back lines following you. You just got him ready to fuck someone up if they're about to come at you or some shit. And he just walks up and then they walk away. That's it.
Let's go. You sure you don't want Pat Bev on your team to fuck somebody? Dude, I saw a meme video of how Pat Bev is going to be playing defense on LeBron, and it's just some kid who just tackles the guy. Laugh so fucking hard.
I love Pat Bev.
Sam, who you got?
All right, so my team is built around the idea of team fuck you. That's our whole basis, all right? We just hate everyone, all right? Don't mess with us. Don't talk to us. Bring us our food. We'll call it a day, all right? So Kevin and I got something similar. We got Russell Westbrook, right? That's the guy ultimate, don't mess with him. The dude will fight you, all right? He's a raw dog right at that point. I'll pick a teammate of his, PJ Tucker. I think everyone who's listened to this, I love PJ Tucker. Kevin, I've told you about PJ Tucker. Matt told you about PJ Tucker. The man is very aggressive, when it comes to the game, but the man has great choices in fashion. Man, when he works one of those kind of dope-ass hats, I can see that. And food-wise, that guy knows where to find the perfect spots. All right, pancake gang, am I right?
Okay.
And I'm actually going to go with not Pat Bev, but a good teammate of his, Montrezl Harrell, all right?
Ooh.
Once again, kind of Kevin's idea. We just want team bruiser. We just want to start fights at the club, all right? Yeah, it's at the Disney Mickey Mouse Club, but hey kids, stay out of the lane, all right?
I like it. I like
that a lot. I'm actually gonna have Team Wholesome on my in my squad. I'm gonna have Luca because who doesn't love that guy? And I would fucking love to see him go to Disney World as a European. He's going to have the goofiest smile in the entire world.
Big old ear hat.
I'm going to have Giannis because Euro squad, let's fucking go. And also because I fucking love that guy. And then third, I'm going to have Kemba Walker because he is a wholesome man. He is the definition of a wonderful team leader and a decent enough guy. And then I'm going to throw in a little bit of a fourth one just to fuck around and do it anyway. I want my boy Zion to bring me some beignets.
I was going to say, man, he's going to be eating all your meals, all right?
Whoa, hey, no fat shaming on this podcast.
Hey, man, I didn't say nothing. You said it.
Oh, my God. All right, Sam, why don't you hit us with those NBA updates?
Just like previous, ladies and gentlemen, we know the season's coming back. There's definitely still a split between the NBA, which is, equally fair. I think everyone in this podcast agrees that, there's a bigger stance to be taken. both on and off the court. But speaking from an NBA standpoint, the NBA did release their 100-page health regulation rulebook, just stating like how to like approach things, including an NBA narc line. Kevin, what do you think about this? Is this a smart idea, or do we think this is like, ruins kind of the brotherhood of the NBA?
I don't think it's gonna ruin the brotherhood of the NBA, but I feel like players might abuse it. Like call the narc line at like 3 a.m. and be like, "Yo, what is going on? Like Giannis just didn't have his mask on. He's walking down the hall. What is this?" Like completely jokingly.
Beep 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 beep. Yeah, this is definitely not Chris Paul. I'm pretty sure LeBron wasn't wearing a mask. Just saying. Y'all have caller ID, right?
I get the point, but I'm like, is anyone going to use it to its actual potential? First of all, and is anything going to come of it if there is a violation? Like if someone calls and is like, "Hey, LeBron didn't have his mask on," what's going to happen? Is he going to be out for 5 games? That ruins it. The NBA doesn't want that, and LeBron doesn't want that. Like, not going to happen.
Yeah,
for sure, right? Because like in the end of the day, like when we watch the NBA basketball, we want to watch the top athletes, like the top 10 players, go at it, and it's a real shame if someone gets sick like that. But I guess with the hotline of the whole concept, right? And I know we all agree with it that like it's all about traceability. Like who are they hanging out with? Like who's been hanging in the jacuzzi? All right, hopefully someone like maybe Jokic, is not like partying with everyone and kind of spreading the disease everywhere. But with that, the players do have to wear these kind of special rings. I kind of wish that everyone in society would have that, just based off our current, health planning in the entire government. But that's a whole different story. But like they have these rings that can measure your heart rate, your fatigue levels. Like it's pretty intricate to a level that it can measure like 90% of like COVID symptoms, which is like pretty nuts. Like in such like a short amount of time. Do we think that that's an optimal way? I guess we'll start with Matt. Like, do you think that's an optimal way of kind of like pinpointing where people are? I'm guessing it includes GPS too, but like the players seem kind of opposed to it just because of like there's GPS on it as well. What do you think about this?
In the words of your boy Kuz, the government is going to be tracking us and following our every movement. If it really is that intricate and like can actually like detect the COVID symptoms, I feel like you don't really have a choice. Plus, not to mention, like this isn't everybody in the United States of America. These are the NBA players who are supposed to be in Orlando at all times, right? So like, first off, I understand if they want to go out or whatever, but where are you going to go out to? I mean, Florida has had an insane spike in COVID cases. So there is no way in hell that Adam Silver is going to let them go outside of where they are supposed to stay. If they're going to be partying, they're going to be partying with other NBA players or their own team. So it's just like, part of me is just like, that's a little bit of invasion of privacy, but also when you're going to be stuck in an area and you're not really doing anything except for playing basketball, and it's meant to just like help with health reasons. Sure, I guess it's probably more effective than just going to a doctor every single day, and having you checked up every single time before a basketball game, which in itself, they have plenty of money to be able to do that in the beginning. But if this ring can actually do that, first off, that's pretty cool. Second off, a little scary because of the GPS. And third off, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse. I really just don't think the bad outweighs the good. I think it's fine, honestly.
No, for sure. And I think it's a really good idea just from the NBA to, in such a short span of time. It's kind of nuts for me that they declared a start date before they had even like the handbook for health regulations like built yet, which is kind of like interesting, like how fast that they're willing to get things done just so that they can get the league started, July 30th. In this handbook, Kevin, they did mention something specific that was not allowed. Ping pong's allowed, but doubles weren't allowed. How do we feel about this?
Crazy. I mean, I get it. But yeah, first of all, you think that's going to stop people from, if they want to play ping pong specifically, they're going to be like, no, we can't play doubles, guys. We can't do it. Okay, these are grown men, adults, making millions of dollars, and you're going to tell them you can't play doubles ping pong? Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares? It's ping pong.
It's just this oddly specific rule that it's hysterical. Like, you had to call out specifically, ping pong? Cool. Doubles ping pong? Get out.
No, for
Wait,
sure.
wait,
I
wait.
think
What's that spoof movie? Balls of Fury. Can we not? Can we just go hardcore with that then? Like, can we just have like Joel Embiid against Giannis? Just.
I have not thought about that movie in so long, and it's
I know, right?
thinking about it.
I mean, and let's be real. Like, if I'm Kawhi Leonard, my hand's already a paddle at this point. All right, that thing's massive. Just saying. So like, it's clean. At this point.
How do you even hold a normal paddle as like someone with like that big of hands? Like, you have to like.
He is the paddle.
That hand? Is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, this is bigger things, Matt. All right, doubles ping pong is a necessary thing, especially during these times.
My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But it's kind of interesting, like from the Disney standpoint, they describe like all the amenities that the players would have. Like, it honestly feels like they're going to be like in an amusement park, like basically like summer camp, at Disney World. And I found it very interesting that how there's one advantage given to, the higher seeds in the playoffs, and they just got better hotels and better amenities from that point. So the teams that are just barely making the cut or trying to make to the playoffs got like the Yacht Club, which is apparently like the worst like hotel like at Disney World and stuff. So
that's so shitty. That's so fucking shitty.
I mean, I guess it makes sense just based off like a quarantine thing. They don't want like too many players, but I mean, I feel like it's gonna be tough, controlling every single player unless you obviously have like GPS or something to kind of pinpoint everyone. I'll be interested to see how many fire alarms are pulled at like 3 a.m. To get everyone out.
Kevin, flashback to high school.
Oh man, all the time.
But on other news, I know that the NBA stated that actually starting tomorrow, the players must notify their teams if they're going to play or obviously not play this season. Kevin, do you think that's a fair enough date to give the players? I know it's been almost about 7 to 10 days, but with the league starting at the end of July, what do you think? You think this is too soon, or do you think it's fair game at this point?
Part of me thinks it's a little soon, just because you have a month plus until they start. But at the same time, I feel like players have had time already to talk about it with their families or with their like close friends and stuff like that about what they personally want to do. So I don't think it's that bad. Just the NBA being like, okay, this date, tell us if you're playing or not. And they're not saying, oh, you have to come and play, you have to do this or you have to do that. They're totally fine with people not playing, which I think is good. Like, I think you want to encourage that behavior of standing up for what you believe in. And I think that's one small way that the NBA is doing that. And again, I think you probably could have pushed it a week or two back, but I understand that they just wanted to pick a date, stick to it, and then instead of like picking a date and be like, oh no, we'll move it back.
I'm kind of interested to see the reason for players to not play. I'm wondering if it's going to be because of COVID scare or if it's because they want to go the Kyrie Irving route and maybe just like stay out of it for Black Lives Matter. And I guess like I know you're asking the question, Sam, but I guess that like poses a question of like how many players decide to take that route, and if those amount of players take that route, what does the playoffs even look like, and is it even good? Like that's what's interesting to me, is more so like, and like I wouldn't blame anybody for not playing because of that. Like, I totally get it. That is a completely valid reason to not play, to not go back. And hell, at least 3/4 of America is going to still watch it because it is sports, it is basketball, whatever. LeBron James is going to play no matter what. Fuck it, who cares? But like, it's going to be very interesting to see who actually decides to stay out of it. Like, let's be honest. If Kyrie isn't playing, like, even if he is playing, does it really give the Nets much of a chance in the playoffs? Like, I don't know.
No, for sure. I think that the NBA decided this date just so that if these players said no, that they don't want to come to here, they need to start recruiting players from overseas, maybe not overseas, but maybe more from the G League teams, so that they can pick up and fill up the roster, right? And then
I
the
like
thing
that.
yeah, and then you have to quarantine those players too before they reach the team, right? Because you need to make sure that they're isolated and good to go. So it's like another 2-week buffer, and then training camp to include everyone. So I kind of see like why the NBA would do that.
God. Wait a minute. Does that mean we could have Taco Fall? Could he be playing in the playoffs?
It's definitely a good chance.
Yes! Yes! I would love that.
I want some LaMelo.
Oh my God. Fucking
Look,
hell.
look. All right. If I was Taco Fall, I wouldn't want to show my face in the league because I got someone's nuts all over my head in the end of the day.
Damn. All right. You can fuck off, sir.
Dang.
How dare you speak? How dare you speak
was
poorly
literally-
of my boy Taco Fall?
Hey man, I'm just saying. All right. But speaking of your boy Kyrie Irving, there was rumors from a text with other Nets players that he wanted to form his own league, and apparently this is a thing he's been wanting for so many years. I think like at least the past 2-3 years. But it's kind of interesting that it comes up now, especially like matching with the kind of the Game of Zones concept about destroying the media deal and kind of making his own NBA league. Apparently, I heard the rumors are false, but I mean, Kyrie's often known for lying as well. So Matt, we'll start with you just being such a great Kyrie Irving fan over the past few years. I know you have so many jerseys and bobbleheads and stuff. Like, how do you feel about Kyrie's statement, and then what do you think he actually means behind it? Do you think it's actually starting a league, or do you think there's something behind it?
So I think Kyrie's just frustrated right now with what's been going on in the league, and I think with how Kyrie is, he lets his emotions take over a lot, and that could just be because of some mental problems that he has, like depression and stuff like that. And sometimes that does take over, and I don't want to say necessarily clouds your judgment, but it makes you think a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's been thinking about this for a long time, I'd be really interested to hear what he has to say about what his concept of the new league would be. Because while I am a huge NBA fan, it would be so kind of a little bit fascinating to see okay, well, what else is there? What else is the possibility? Are we talking 3-on-3 basketball for the league or something like that? I think it'd be interesting, kind of like the XFL, NFL kind of thing. The XFL, I don't know if you guys ever did, and I don't blame you if you didn't, but I actually watched maybe 1 or 2 XFL games, and it was actually kind of cool. It wasn't bad at all. It was actually a lot of fun to watch. It was very interesting. And I liked what they did with rearranging the kickoffs, where they didn't even have a kickoff, where they just started at the 25-yard line or whatever and then just went, which is really actually interesting. But I would be more interested to see what Kyrie has to say about this new league and what that would look like. Whether that actually happens, I highly doubt it. I don't think there's a way in hell that there's going to be another basketball league. It doesn't make sense to me. And the NBA has so much money that it's just how the fuck are you even going to a little bit compete with that? The NFL has been dropping in ratings. The NBA just has thousands of millions and billions of dollars. There's no way in hell that they're going to be able to compete with them either way. So yes, I'm interested in the concept. I don't think it will ever happen.
No, for sure. As a counter question to Kevin, let's say that there is a league, right? That somehow Kyrie does have an idea to develop a league. There's rumors that apparently KD was not really interested in the league. Just obviously being a superstar. What do you think can be consistent in this league in terms of what kind of player? Do you think superstars would be very attracted to this, or do you think it'd be more of the kind of the upcoming, maybe the younger guys, maybe the guys that don't really get a chance to play? What do you think will be the makeup of this league?
I feel like it'll be kind of a mix of the younger guys who haven't really proven themselves yet and want to prove themselves, and then the exact opposite end of the spectrum, where you could almost categorize Kyrie at this point, where it's like the person who's been around a while, who's proven themselves in the past as a really good player, but now just wants to play the game and enjoy playing the game rather than playing it for like a job, I guess. And I feel like there's a lot of people that fit into either of those categories. Like you could look at Dwight Howard. I think that's a perfect example of someone who would be right on board with that. Like who would want to play the game and show how good he is, but he wants to play it for fun. He doesn't want to like be traded around a bunch and used as like currency.
A bargaining tool. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's where Kyrie's coming from in general. I don't know for sure because it's so vague of a idea right now, but that's definitely how I interpreted it is right now in the NBA players aren't treated as individual players. They're like pieces in this entertainment industry that is the NBA, you know?
Yeah, they're products. They're essentially right now. My thing is, if we're talking about a whole nother league, don't we kind of technically already have another league already, like the G League? Like, I know obviously it's not as intense as the NBA right now, but they're making moves to be a fun basketball organization, especially for like kids that are coming out of high school that don't want to be in that college scene. Like, can you imagine like the older players like Dwight Howard, Vince Carter maybe, who like just don't want to play in the end, like just either whether they don't have the stamina or they just like don't really feel like playing in the NBA, just go to the G League just to have fun. Like that would be really interesting, and they would be like really good like teachers, I guess, or mentors to really young players. So like I feel like we kind of already have another league. It's just not as popularized.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. I was going to say that, like, as much as the G League is still, starting to grow and, kind of move forward with things, it's still like kind of what you're saying. It's not marketed that well just because the NBA obviously, overcomes all that. Going along your point, I think it'd be awesome if Kyrie did have a league that just let high schoolers just start coming in. Like, have the Jalen Greens, the Josh Christophers and all of them, like, just go up against, like, Kyrie Irving or, like, go against the superstar, get them really trained. Because in the G League, right, like, you don't really get to play against the top tier, players or, like, even, like, close, like people who are also just struggling trying to get into the league as well. So be interesting.
Yeah, but it's better than playing against college players.
What was that?
I said it's better than playing against college players sometimes, though.
Oh, for sure, I agree. I think college is whack, like in terms of like all games.
College.
Who plays zone? Just saying. All right, be a man. All right.
Absolutely.
I guess along the lines of Kyrie, I guess how confident do we feel about the players like not playing in the NBA this season if they choose to sit out? I guess more in terms of, these guys didn't really have a plan. They went with their gut, which I respect, completely. They want to make a stance. They say, hey, we're going to do this. We're not going to play. We're not going to show up there. But it also just seems like relative to the NBA having an idea, like their idea just seems like there is no quote unquote plan. Maybe they do, but at least there's nothing open to us that we know of. So I guess in terms from the NBA standpoint, do we think the NBA is open for players to use the NBA platform to kind of showcase, their knowledge of either Black Lives Matter or just even COVID, like anything like that? Do we think that the NBA is open to letting players share their ideals in terms of this? Kevin, we'll start with you on that.
I think they're more open than, let's say, the NFL, who basically shut down Colin Kaepernick really quick when he did anything that kind of...
Shout out to Rod. Shout out to Goodell, that little bastard.
Like, he just went against the grain a little bit, and all the owners were just like, we don't want this drama. We don't want this stuff. And the NBA is clearly better, but I don't think they're good with it. I don't think they want Kyrie coming out in interview after a game and talking about Black Lives Matter and like protests and stuff like that. Like they don't want that. So I don't think they're quite there yet where I think a lot of players want to be. But again, that being said, they haven't spoken out against a lot of players. I think Adam Silver has done a reasonable job in general as commissioner, and he does sound like he really does support these players and wants them to do what they feel is right. Like, I think this is a perfect example of, he's like, okay, yeah, if you want to sit out and make a point, I'm all for it. Just let me know. And I think that's a very reasonable thing to do as the commissioner of like a multi-billion-dollar organization.
Let me tell you something. If you see first game, Lakers game, LeBron James wearing a Black Lives Matter shirt and he is kneeling on the during the national anthem, yeah, that's going to be big. That's going to be huge. Like LeBron James is one of the biggest names in not only basketball but sports in general. Like he is the essentially like the next like Michael Jordan or next like Kobe Bryant or whatever. Like if he takes even a little, and like what's Adam Silver gonna do? I mean, you saw the stuff that LeBron was doing when with the whole China situation and whatnot, and essentially nothing was done. So like LeBron could do whatever the fuck he wants. He could wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. He could wear an undershirt with like Black Lives Matter on his fucking sleeves. Like who the hell cares? He's gonna like he could do what he wants, and obviously he very much cares about this movement too. He's openly said it on Twitter multiple times, and I think in press conferences too, but he very much so cares about this movement. And if LeBron James does something, as Pat Beverly has said, if LeBron is playing, if LeBron is doing something, they're going to do it. Like that's just how it is.
No, for sure. I definitely agree. I think LeBron is the perfect face, especially when it comes to this kind of message. In terms of like even against the haters, like he's such a humble guy and just a capable guy to withstand all the hate.
Sure.
This is from the NBA standpoint. I hope they just don't take a tacky route, like just in terms of let's just put a BLM patch on our jersey or just like put a BLM on the court. Like I hope that they actually allow the players like LeBron. I know they obviously give LeBron, but even like players that do have a real message to send out, I hope they actually give them the platform to talk. Maybe after the quarters or maybe halftime or something, or even just after the game, obviously. And I hope that ESPN, Disney, that they also follow suit, that they actually show these openly on television and everything like that. So they actually came out with a list of players that already said they're not going to show up. Ariza, obviously KD and Kyrie. I think it's a big mix of injury and also just wanting to sit out. My boy recently, Davis Bertans, the guy was balling out in DC. All right, we all know that.
Yeah.
He's sitting out because he's getting a new contract next season, so he's going to free agency. So I don't blame him for not going there. My boy Bogdanovich, injury. Aldridge, as soon as he heard the Spurs are coming to Disney World, he's like, I'm going to get surgery. I'm not showing up there, all right?
Sure.
He did the same. And I think the big one, Cousins, it's a little, I've heard 50-50. I heard agents said he's not showing up, but I also heard rumors that people close to him might show up. I guess overall, do you think this is a smart call for these players to just sit out, whatever the reason is? Do you think it's just a smart call overall, Matt?
I mean, like, I think we already kind of knew that KD wasn't going to be playing either way. I wasn't expecting him to play, and I think that is the smartest decision for him. When you have to deal with that kind of injury, you need to take the time off, especially for a player like him. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. That we all know how great he is. Trevor Ariza is an interesting one. I'm not 100% sure on this. Sam, do you know why he said he's sitting out?
So I won't get to the super greenness. Not that anyone actually watches us and gets into that, but like basically he's going through a custody issue for his child, so he wants to stay back with his kid. So I respect that. Obviously, like go do you. That's way more important than the game. All right. But some of the other people are just either severely injured or like took the option to, in Bertan's case, just like I'm not going to show up if it's not going to really boost my, my contract next season. And the guy balled out in the, in the regular season as well. So
yeah, that's fine. I have honestly, like with the list of players that I'm looking at right now, I'm not like bummed out or I'm not really surprised. I really do like Kelly Oubre. He was doing a lot. He was doing pretty decently well this season, really putting a name out for himself. Aldridge, he's so old. Like if he needs to go into surgery, then do it, man. Like if he wants to continue to play, then you do you, dude. Bogdanovich, like that's going to be a bit of a hit to the Jazz, but on the same side, I don't really know how well the Jazz are going to do to begin with in the playoffs. I don't really see them going too far to begin with, so it's just like, eh. The Ariza one was the one that I was more concerned about because as soon as he came back from that suspension, he was lighting it up, man. He was killing it. And I loved watching him. I loved the dynamic that he had on that team with the Suns. And that's really weird to say because it's the Suns. Like you never say Suns fun to watch. But like he kind of helped out with that. And like it'll be a little bit of a bummer not to see him, but I totally understand that is there are some things that are just way more important than sports, and battling for your child is definitely one of them. And I don't know, like Cousins, like I don't really care watching him anyway. He's kind of died out. Like if anything, I would be more surprised for him to sit out than for him to play because he has not played well in a long time. I think he had like one good game in the playoffs last year, but that was like one good game, and the other ones were absolute garbage. Like he's got to make a name for himself. And why is he sitting out, Sam? Can you just refresh my memory?
I think he said he wanted like similar to like KD. They just want to be ready for the next season.
Okay.
I heard like there are discussions that maybe he should play just so that he can build up his value, just so that when he gets a new contract, that he can have a general idea of what we're going for.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Cousins. I think he really like. We all know the name DeMarcus Cousins, but it's just a name now, right? There's really not a whole lot of value to that name right now, just because of all the injuries he's had. It's not really even his fault. It's just like all the injuries he's had. It's really kind of like kind of took an arrow to the knee, if you will. Some old school memes right there. Kevin's just giving me the dirtiest fucking look. Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. You know, I get it. I'm not super bummed about it, and I totally understand. If these guys don't want to play, totally fine.
Dang. All right. So no more boogie nights for Cousins then. All right. I see. I guess going along these lines, Kevin, we haven't really heard much from players that are on teams that have like in the higher seeds or like already in the playoffs. Do you think there's going to be any players coming out from there like that's going to sit out this season?
I think there could be, but I feel like that's a big discussion amongst the players themselves and amongst their team members. Like they don't want to sit out if they have a chance at doing well in the playoffs and getting into the finals and things like that. Like you almost have a Scottie Pippen moment of like sitting out at this time when your team needs you and like when they want you to be there. So it's for a good cause, and I wouldn't blame anyone for sitting out. But I think most people are going to, in that situation, are going to choose not to sit out and to play because, again, it's a team game. And I think at the end of the day, the players are here for their teams as well. And that's their family a lot of the times. Like, I don't know. I think most of them will show up and be there.
For sure. And I think the one prominent voice has been like Lou Williams. He's been saying that he's pretty 50-50. Like he understands the cause behind it. And he's definitely seeing both sides of the play, right? That how he can use the funds, the money we make to actually build stronger platforms for, the Black community as well. So yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see, who sits out. Like we said, I think all of us agree that we respect anyone's decision, regardless of what they choose. There's definitely bigger things than the sport in the end of the day. So the last note before we get to the courtroom, I think we all may have heard this call about Paul George. I forgot what show he was on, but they're giving him an interview, and he said that when he was in Indiana during free agency, he told Indiana that he was able to get the best power forward at that time, and Indiana's management had said no. And at that time, Indiana's management was Larry Bird. He was VP of operations. Do you think it was a bad call in Indiana? And then B, who do you think it is? Matt, we'll start with you first.
I think, and I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think he wanted maybe like Anthony Davis or something like that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that Indiana team was pretty good with Paul George, and if you had Anthony Davis on that team, like holy shit, you just made the Eastern Conference a little bit more fun, especially for an Indiana team, because Indiana has like a really it's one of those like microbreweries, if you want to say, like they have a very cult following, and that cult following loves that team, like loves watching the Pacers and whatnot. Like they don't have a huge following, but whoever does follow them, it's a pretty big thing for them in Indiana. Not gonna lie, just because what else is there in Indiana? But it's got to be Anthony Davis, whether or not his like player status is more center, or whatever, however he plays. I'm sure that that's probably the move he was trying to make.
For sure. Kevin, what do you think?
I agree. I think first choice is Anthony Davis. The only other person in my mind would be Blake Griffin. And if that's the case, then I love Blake Griffin. He's my boy. But I don't blame Larry Bird for being like, no, not going to happen. Again, if that's the case, if it was Anthony Davis, I think that's a missed opportunity for sure. I think Anthony Davis and Paul George could have been a scary combo, but Anthony Davis and LeBron are way better. Shame. But yeah, I don't know. I find that really interesting, and I like that he didn't name drop or anything like that. Like he just left it a little bit of a mystery.
For sure. And I think we all recall.
You guys, sorry to cut you off, Sam. Did you guys see that there was a recent article? I think it was more so Chicago article that there were some scouters that really, really wanted to get Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose on the Bulls.
Ooh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, like it's probably one of those like beat writers or something like that. Nothing too crazy, but like, can you imagine Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose on the Bulls right now?
Imagine them both in their peak, like playing together.
Like that 1 year together. Yeah.
That one year where they were both like fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, and under your favorite coach, Tom Thibodeau. I got you. I see you.
Yeah, let's go.
He was good when he had all his favorite people in their prime, like Joakim Noah and Luol Deng and Boozer. When they were all good players, yeah, he was good because he had good players.
Carlos Boozer, my God.
Hey man, look, Carlos Boozer ruined his career as soon as he painted his hair. All right, when he painted his hair, that was game over. Right.
Hey,
there.
that shot though, that Boozer shot though, with that giant ass arc. Let's go.
But I think back to the other point, I think we all recall those 2012 to 2014 Indiana Pacer team with Paul George, Stevenson, Hibbert. Like that team actually was so close. I think 2 years back to back against the Heat, they were so close to making the finals. I mean, my Spurs would have won both titles anyways. It wouldn't have mattered anyways. But
sure,
you know.
yeah.
I guess with that, let's head to the courtroom.